All right, Stan, can you see this?
I can, yes, Jim.
Okay, we're good. Good evening. Welcome to Cornerstone Home Inspector Education Center. Tonight we have a special event, a 1 hour event, professional ethics in home inspector for New Jersey. New Jersey requires a 4 hour um, credits in law and ethics. So we are breaking this into three different sections, 1 hour in law, and then we will be doing two 90-minute versions of the 1 hour ethics, and then two 90-minute versions of the law. I'm going to turn it over to Stan. He'll start, and we'll go from there.
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Stan Budzinski. I am one of the owners and operators of Cornerstone Home Inspections, and I've been in business for 38 years. And we do a lot of these state law, statute, whatever you want to call them, requirements. We find that most of them are very similar, and they all want to touch base on ethics. And ethics, ethics is involved in everything. It's involved in politics and education and medicine and all businesses. So we're going to talk about professional ethics in the home inspection profession. So this is going to be a 1 hour development webinar for New Jersey home inspectors and trainees. This session covers the foundations of ethical practice, real world dilemmas, and the standards that protect public trust and professional credibility. Okay, Jim. So what we're going to cover tonight, we're going to have an introduction into professional ethics. We'll kind of cover ethical dilemmas and decision making, and then the code of ethics and maintaining integrity. So reviewing best practices for integrity and a question and answer wrap up session. Next slide, Jim. By the end of this webinar, you will be equipped with the knowledge and tools to navigate ethical challenges confidently and uphold the standards that define our profession. Understand the foundational principles of professional ethics and why they matter to home inspectors. Recognize common ethical dilemmas and apply structural framework to resolve them. Develop strategies to maintain objectivity, integrity, and public trust throughout your career. I can guarantee you that anybody that has been in the home inspection business for any length of time, whether they realize it or not, has been in some type of ethical situation. And we're going to kind of go over a few of those that are kind of common throughout this 1 hour webinar. Okay, Jim? So the core concept, what are ethics? Ethics are the moral principles that govern a person's behavior or the way an activity is conducted. They represent the standards by which we distinguish right from wrong, fair from unfair, and honest from deceptive. Ethics are not simply rules imposed from the outside. They reflect deeply held values about how we should treat others and carry out our responsibilities. Professional ethics are the personal and corporate rules that govern behavior within the context of a particular profession. They go beyond legal requirements to define what it means to act with integrity in your specific role. So, for home inspectors, professional ethics form the backbone of every client interaction, report, and recommendation you make. Don't forget, we are supposed to be the experts. We know way more than the average person we work for, and they really do rely on us to convey information, accurate information, and that's where your ethics come in. Okay, Jim. So the four pillars of ethical conduct. These core principles guide ethical behavior across all professional contexts. As a home inspector, each pillar plays a direct role in how you perform your work and how clients perceive you. So, honesty, reporting findings accurately and completely, even when the truth is inconvenient or unwelcome to clients or agents. Integrity, consistently acting in accordance with your values and professional standards, even when no one is watching. Fairness, treating all clients, colleagues, and parties with equal respect and impartiality regardless of personal relationships. And accountability, owning your actions and decisions, and being willing to answer for the outcome of your professional conduct. If you are viewing this as a pre-recorded webinar, you will need to present this viewing code NJE8237 along with the second one we will present further on in this webinar to us to get your certificate. So why ethics matter in home inspections? Home inspectors occupy a unique position of trust. Buyers rely on your findings to make some of the largest financial decisions of their lives. Sellers depend on your objectivity. The entire real estate transaction hinges on credibility of your report. Public trust. Ethical inspectors protect buyers from hidden hazards and financial harm. Your reputation is a public resource. Once lost, it is very difficult to rebuild. Ethical conduct distinguishes skilled professionals from those who cut corners. Inspectors known for integrity attract more referrals and command greater respect in the market, and I might add, probably more money. Legal protection. Adhering to ethical standards aligns your practice with state regulations, reducing your exposure to complaints, license actions, and liability claims. I think that home inspectors are in a unique position to be unethical because one of the things that I've heard for all the years that I've been in practice is staying away from the guys who say, hey, you need a roof, and by the way, I can replace it. And there are still people out there like that. Or calling out things that aren't really in need of repair and then saying you can do them. And that's where we can become more unethical than in other areas. New Jersey Home Inspectors Advisory Committee. So the role of the committee, it serves as the primary regulatory body of home inspectors in New Jersey. It operates under the Division of Consumer Affairs and is responsible for protecting the public by, not home inspectors, but the public by ensuring that licensed inspectors meet and maintain professional ethical standards. Key functions: establish and update standards of practice and codes of conduct, review and investigate complaints filed against licensed inspectors, recommend disciplinary actions for ethical violations, approve continuing education requirements, including ethics training, and advise the state on matters affecting the home inspection profession. All right, Jim. Ethical standards specific to New Jersey. New Jersey has a defined regulatory framework that governs home inspectors' conduct. Understanding these requirements is essential for every practicing inspector in the state. New Jersey law requires licensed home inspectors to adhere to established standards of practice and codes of ethics. Violations can result in suspension, revocation of licensure, or civil penalties. The New Jersey Advisory Committee. New Jersey Home Inspectors Advisory Committee oversees the profession, reviews complaints, and enforces ethical standards. They set the tone for what acceptable and unacceptable conduct looks like in practice. And licensing requirements. Ethical training is a required component of continuing education for New Jersey home inspectors. Compliance is not optional. It is a condition of maintaining your professional license in good standing. So this is pretty specific to most states that are regulated. They're all very similar. So 13, 40, 15, 19 prohibited practices. This kind of, in some other states, would just be called a code of ethics. So repair services for a fee, as I was saying. Home inspectors may not perform or offer repairs, renovations, additions, or alterations for an additional fee on any property they have inspected. Number 2, financial interest in a property. They may not inspect for a fee any property in which the licensee or their company has a financial interest or interest in the transfer. Number 3, referral compensation to agents owners. May not offer or deliver compensation, inducement, or reward to the property owner, broker, agent, or client's representative for referral of business. Number four, compensation on behalf of third parties. They may not offer or deliver compensation, inducement, or reward to the client, broker, agent, or representative on behalf of any other person or business entity. And number five, contingent fee arrangements may not accept an engagement where the fee or employment is contingent upon the conclusion of the report, pre-established findings, or the close of the title. Those are all some pretty serious offenses if those things are in play. I'm going to be honest with you, 38 years, I have never heard of or found evidence of anybody paying for or getting paid for referrals or fudging home inspections to make sure the house, it may go on, but it hasn't reared its ugly head to where we see evidence of that. I'm sure other things can happen that's similar, but the money part, I don't think I've ever been privy to that information. So number six, unauthorized report disclosure. May not provide a copy of the report or disclose inspection results, confidential client information without written client approval, except when a health or safety condition poses an imminent risk or injury. So kind of related to this, I did a condo a couple days ago for somebody that I did inspect that condo for the seller. I disclosed that to the people that were buying the house. They really didn't care. That was 6 years ago. And I also did the inspection for the owner of the condo this morning. The agent of the person buying her condo called me today and asked me if I did the seller of the condo's inspection. Well, quite frankly, that's none of his business. And I texted him and said that, I can't disclose that information or any other kind of information. To me, that's a conflict of interest. I disclosed that I was worked for the girl before. I inspected this condo. I'm working for her again, just so everybody knows. Nobody had a problem. But that's all the information you're going to get. So to me, it was unethical if I passed that information on. And I don't know what the purpose of asking if I did her inspection yet. There must have been some reason for him to want to know. Number seven, dual compensation. May not accept compensation, financial or otherwise, from more than one interested party for the same home inspection. Number eight, commissions from connected parties. May not accept or offer commissions or allowances directly or indirectly from any other party dealing with the client in connection with work for which the licensee is responsible. 9, trade commissions for property information. May not accept commissions from any other trade or profession for information concerning the condition of the inspected property. For instance, I guess if a roofing company wants to know the condition of all your roofing, and they'll pay you for that information. So they can go in and if the roof it's time for replacement, they can go and solicit. Number 10, failure to disclose business interest. Must promptly disclose to the client any business interest of the licensee that may affect the client in connection with the home inspection. So any of you guys that have been in business for any length of time have probably been through all this before and heard this before. But does that all make sense to everybody, that these things can be construed as unethical? You just put your nose to the grindstone, do your job, report to your client, and you'll be fine.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, Jim, next. Number 11, business interest affecting quality. May not allow any personal business interest to affect the quality of the home inspection. Number 12, using inspection to solicit other work. So may not use the home inspection as a means to obtain work in another field that is not an additional inspection service as defined by the New Jersey 3040-5.2. So I'm assuming that means water testing, radon testing, any other kind of testing that would be associated with home inspections is okay. Replacing your roof, windows, doors, stuff like that, not so good. 13, False or misleading advertising, may not engage in advertising containing any statement, claim, or format that is false, fraudulent, misleading, or deceptive. Number 14, advertising beyond authority, may not advertise professional services beyond the licensee's ability or authority to perform. Number 15, performing services beyond authority, may not perform or represent the ability to perform professional services beyond the licensee's ability or authority. So if lead testing, it requires a license, you don't have it, but you're selling lead testing, that's a violation. Number 16, unauthorized engineering, architectural services, may not perform or offer engineering or architectural services unless appropriately qualified, and other applicable laws. So you got to be educated for those things and licensed or whatever else your state requires before you can even think about offering those any services other than the home inspection. I think those are good things because today, you know, in the 38 years that I've been in home inspections, we're really starting to see a lot of home inspectors putting add-ons in, getting a 2-hour certification. Now all of a sudden they're a nail expert or, it's to me, this is my personal opinion. If you're not doing something every day or almost every day, you're not going to be good at it. If you're doing a sewer scope once a month, you better know what you're doing because you're not getting a lot of work, of repetition.
Perfect example on number 15, Stan, is I called you, I think, last week or the beginning of this week about a pre-drywall inspection that I wasn't thinking about doing it. I was calling you to see maybe if you wanted to do it because I don't do them. And I got called into a house, on new construction to do it, and I turned the work down. I said, I can help you with once the house is built, I can help you with the year follow-up on the warranty. I've done plenty of those. But as a pre-drywall, I don't do them all the time, ever. So that goes into performing services beyond authority or ability. So that's what, we were talking about that last week.
Just to add to that a little bit, does New Jersey have pre-drywall inspections? Anybody?
No, that would all be done by the town.
Same
Yeah,
here.
exactly. So I guess a good portion of the country, they have these pre-drywall inspections, and I don't know if there's a local jurisdiction that they work. I won't say hand in hand, but is doing this as well. But these guys come in and do it anyways, and even if we were doing it here, I don't want any part of that myself personally. I want to do what I do every single day and what I do best. And that's just a regular home inspection, some radon testing, water testing, so on and so forth. So, okay. Wow, we still got more. Yep. 17, failure to inspect required systems, may not omit required systems or components from an inspection without a documented reason explaining the exclusion. 18, employing unlicensed inspectors, may not employ any person as a home inspector who is not licensed as a home inspector. I think that's pretty cut and dry there. Practicing without a valid license, may not practice as a home inspector without a license, with a suspended license, or during inactive status. Dishonesty to benefit self and others, may not perform any act or omission involving dishonesty, fraud, or misrepresentation with the intent to benefit the licensee or another person, or to substantially injure another person. 21, dishonesty in inspection or report, may not perform any action or omission involving dishonesty, fraud, or misrepresentation in the performance of a home inspection or preparation of the home inspection report. Finders or referral fees, may not pay or accept a finder's fee or referral fee to any person in connection with the home inspection. And failure to exercise diligence, may not fail to refuse without good cause to exercise diligence in preparing a home inspection report, delivering a report to the client, or responding to client inquiry. Now, I don't think anybody wants to add any liability to themselves. So all these things also come with some liability if you get caught. Never mind your license getting suspended. It's important that it's all spelled out, I think. And I think most of that is understandable. You can understand it. It's not legal mumbo jumbo. So again, you do your thing. You present your information as accurately and honestly as possible. We are in a tough business. Um, we spend a lot of time putting reports together and narratives to help us with liability. We have inspection agreements. To me, we don't need to add any more possibility of liability. So, um, I, but there's the good, the bad, and the ugly in every profession. And I'm sure if you're around long enough, you know who some of those people are. You get to know them after a while. So ethics is not a constraint on professional practice. It's not a regulation. It is the very foundation on which professional practice is built. Without it, the license means nothing. That is so true. Just because, Connecticut went to licensing because they thought they could kind of unify home inspectors and get everybody on the same page and make us better. It doesn't necessarily do that. Neither do the standards of practice, because if somebody wants to be unethical, they will. We can't let those people reflect what our profession is all about. The regulation you studied defines the boundaries, what happens inside those boundaries, in the field, under pressure, in the gray areas. That's where your character as a professional is revealed. I think we all should be able to understand that. Ethical dilemmas in decision making, real life. Recognizing dilemmas when they arise, applying structured framework, and building the judgment to act within integrity under pressure. So what is an ethical dilemma? An ethical dilemma occurs when a situation requires choosing between two or more courses of action, each of which involves competing ethical practices. Unlike clear-cut violations, dilemmas are difficult precisely because there is no obvious right answer, only better or worse ways to navigate competing obligations. In home inspection, ethical dilemmas often arise at the intersection of professional duty, professional relationships, financial pressure, and client expectations. Recognizing them early is the first step to handling them well. Some common ethical dilemmas in home inspections. Every inspector, as I said earlier, if you've been in business long enough, you will encounter situations that will test your professional judgment. Here are the most frequently reported dilemmas in the field. Conflict of interest. Inspecting a home for a friend, family member, or business associate. Personal relationship can subtly influence your objectivity or create the appearance that it has. We're going to get a little deeper in these after this, I believe. Pressure to overlook issues. A real estate agent or client urges you to downplay a defect to keep a deal alive. This is one of the most common and serious ethical pressures inspectors face. Confidential information. You discover information during an inspection that is sensitive, legally significant, or that one party may not want to share. Who has the right to know, and what must you disclose? And referral relationships. When contractors or agents who refer your business are the same ones whose work you are evaluating, objectively becomes more challenging to maintain. Okay, Jim. So conflicts of interest, a closer look. A conflict of interest exists whenever your personal, financial, or professional relationship could even potentially compromise your objectivity. This includes inspecting for family, friends, colleagues, or anyone who has a financial relationship with you outside of the inspection. Even when you believe you can remain objective, the appearance of bias can be judged as damaging as actual bias. Clients, agents, and regulators evaluate your conduct based not only on what happens, but on how it looks from the outside. When in doubt, disclose the relationship or decline the assignment. So I remember the first time I did an inspection for a family member, it was my nephew. Everybody calls me Buddy. I said, Randy, do not call me Uncle Buddy in the home inspection. All right. We're going to tell him I'm your uncle, but just don't call me Uncle Buddy as we're going through because it's just going to complicate things. Just little things like that you want to kind of put out in the open. When clients or agents push back, one of the most difficult situations inspectors face is when a client, buyer's agent, or seller's rep pressure them to soften findings, omit concerns from the report, or simply let something slide. Understanding why this happens and how to respond is critical. There's different subtle ways, and then there's not so subtle ways for them to kind of try and get you. If they're working with you for the first time, there's a couple of reasons why they're going to kind of try and figure out, like, I'm going to say this to see if this guy or gal wants more referrals. Make them think that if they comply with what I need, I'll give them more referrals. Or they'll just blatantly say, hey, look, don't crush this deal, or follow my lead. I've had all that kind of stuff over the years. And you don't even have to respond. You just go and do your thing. The financial pressure. Deals fall through when major defects are found. Agents worried about commissions may subtly or directly ask you to reconsider your findings. When I first started, I'm confident in saying that there was always room for negotiation, and the more important that concern was, the better chance you had of getting it fixed or some kind of compensation. That has kind of disappeared to a certain extent with the market being the way it is, at least in Connecticut. Client preference. A buyer who has fallen in love with a property may resist hearing about its problems. Find that a lot. Downplaying issues may feel kind at the moment, but it exposes both of you to serious risk. So, whether you think somebody's looking at things through rose-colored glasses or they walk away from you 3 or 4 times, you have to be accurate and honest in what you're reporting. Your professional obligation. Your duty is to the facts, not to the transaction. A clear, honest report protects you legally and professionally, no matter how it affects the deal. So when things go south, that report, who's supposed to be the property of your client, and a lot of times it'll be shared with the realtor, then becomes everybody's property as they try and figure out how to go after you. So you need to do your thing for liability purposes as well. No matter what they feel, or look, my uncle can handle that. I don't even know why they wouldn't want it in the report, to be honest with you, but just, report properly.
Well, just to break in for a second, one of the issues I had actually today was everybody shows up for the inspection. The buyer's agent shows up first. I was there early doing the outside of the house. Then the listing agent shows up. Well, he seems like a nice guy, and he's talking with the buyer's agent. Now my client shows up, and we're all in the kitchen. Before I say a word, I look at the listing agent and I said, "Are you planning on staying?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, wrong plan. You got to leave." And he just looked at me. He didn't know what to say. And I said, "This is my buyer's time, and it's not your time. So you need to go sit in your car, or you need to go home. This is why we have the buyer's agent here who's fully licensed, and she can close the house up. And I will make sure it's closed up too." I said, "It's just, you can't be here. You got to go." And my clients and the listing agent were so happy because they were trying to get him out of the house. You don't want the listing agent in that scenario listening to anything you have to say, because you could say something to the effect, "Well, it's a little bit of cracking there, but it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it." But in your report, you're going to put in that there's cracking. It needs to be evaluated. There's a recommendation. And then the clients are upset with that crack for some reason. And they go to their agent and they say, "Listen, we want you to address it." And then the listing agent comes back and says, "I heard Jim. He said it wasn't a big deal." So I kicked the listing agent out today and was very happy to do it.
You go, Jim. All right, a 5-step decision-making process. When you encounter an ethical dilemma, having a clear process to follow reduces the risk of making a hasty or emotionally driven decision. Use these 5 steps as your guide. Identify the issue, recognize the ethical dilemma. That's key, that you recognize that it could be an ethical dilemma. Consider the consequences, evaluate the possible outcomes, gather the facts, collect all relevant information, decide and act, choose a course, and implement. This process works best when applied deliberately and honestly. The reflection step is often skipped, but it is essential for continuous professional growth. Next slide, Jim. Identify the ethical issue. Ask yourself, is there a potential conflict between personal interest and professional duties? Could my actions harm a client, third party, or the public? Does this situation involve pressure to violate a standard or code? Would I be comfortable if my actions were made public or reviewed by the advisory committee? Many ethical failures happen not because inspectors make bad choices, but because they don't recognize they are in an ethical situation at all. Sharpening your ability to identify dilemmas early gives you the time and the space to handle them properly before they escalate. Next slide, Jim. 2 and 3, gather information, weigh consequences. Gather all relevant information before acting. Make sure you have a complete picture. Who are the affected parties? What do the applicable codes, regulations, and standards say? What are your legal obligations versus your professional obligations? Incomplete information leads to poor decisions. Consider possible consequences. Think through the likely outcomes of each possible action. Consider short-term and long-term consequences. Who benefits? Who is harmed? What happens if your decision becomes public? What is the worst-case scenario of each option? And unfortunately, some of these things can happen, boom, like that. You get put in the middle of a situation real quick, and you gotta think all this out. Check your reasoning. Watch for rationalization. Telling yourself a questionable action is acceptable because of special circumstances. If your reasoning requires a lot of justification, that is often a signal that the action isn't really ethically sound. If you're trying to convince yourself something's ethical, it's probably not. Next, Jim.
Yep, let's change.
Oh, make a decision and act. Once you have gathered all information and weighed the consequences, commit to a course of action. Ethical behavior requires not just good intentions, but decisive action. Indecision in a dilemma can itself become an ethical failure, particularly when inaction harms a client or violates a duty to disclose. Document your reasoning. If a decision is ever questioned, a clear record of how you work through the dilemma demonstrates professionalism and good faith. After the decision is resolved, take time to review what happened. Did the outcome align with your intentions? What would you do differently? Reflection turns individual dilemmas into long-term professional growth and helps you respond more effectively the next time a similar situation arises. The PLUS model explained. The PLUS model is widely used ethical decision-making framework that provides a structured lens for evaluating any professional dilemma. Each letter prompts a critical question. P, policies. Is the action consistent with your organization's policies, professional codes, and standards of practice? L, legal. Is the action compliant with applicable laws and regulations, including New Jersey licensing requirements? U, universal. Is the action consistent with universal ethic principles, honesty, fairness, respect to others, and doing no harm? And S, self. Does the action align with your personal values and your sense of who you are as a professional? Would you be proud of this decision? So our second viewing code, if you're looking at this as a pre-recorded webinar, is HIE 8211. Send both codes to us via email and the website, and we will send you your certificate. Applying the PLUS model, a practical example. A buyer's agent calls you after an inspection and asks you to remove a notation about the roof's age from the report because it's just cosmetic and the deal will fall apart. So policies, New Jersey standards require accurate reporting of observed conditions. So removing findings violates your standard of practice. Legal. After a report at a third party's request could constitute fraud and altering, and expose you to a civil and regulatory liability. 3, universal. Omitting a known defect from a buyer's report is fundamentally dishonest and could cause them financial harm. And 4, self, would you be comfortable if this request were made in writing and reviewed by the advisory committee? Of course not. So conclusion, decline the request, accept your professional obligation, and keep your report as written. That's a lot of nerve to ask somebody to change something after it's issued. So
It's happened.
yeah, no, I know. Anything and everything will happen.
Yep.
Studies, learning through real world scenarios. The following case studies are drawn from situations that home inspectors commonly encounter. Work through each one using the 5-step process and PLUS model. There is rarely a single correct answer, but some answers are clearly better than others. So the Fred's house, your college roommate asks you to inspect the home he's about to purchase. He's counting on you and you feel obligated to help. A top-notch producing agent who sends you 20% of your annual business is present at the inspection and suggests you keep it simple on a complex older home. And the hidden disclosure during your inspection, you discover evidence of a prior moisture intrusion that was professionally remediated but not disclosed on the seller's statement.
I want to just take 1 second and go back 1 slide. Actually, hold on. Yes, the buyer's agent called you after this. You can get, I've had clients call me after I send the report and say, the roof comment's too hard. I'm not going to be able to get insurance. I need you to soften the roof comment. So you got to be on your, marbles, because you can't do that. It can be difficult because they're your client. You want to do well by them, but you've got to report what you see, period. Okay, you're good to go. Friend's
Okay.
house.
So your college roommate asks you to inspect the house he's purchasing. He's a close friend. You want to help, and he trusts you completely. You agree to take the job. During the inspection, you notice several significant structural concerns that, fully documented, may cause a deal to collapse. Your friend is emotionally invested in the property. The ethical tension would be your personal relationship creates pressure, even unconsciously, to soften your findings. Your friend's happiness and the deal success feels like they depend on how you write your report. The professional answer is to disclose the relationship in writing before proceeding. Report all findings fully and accurately. Your friend hired you because he trusts you. Honor that trust with honesty and not comfort. And I think, I don't know, in that situation, if you are friends, you can convince him that's a major problem and take his rose-colored glasses off. You got to deal with this. The repeat referral agent, a top-notch referral real estate agent who accounts for 20% of your annual inspection volume, accompanies you during an inspection of a 1940s colonial. She comments, "My client really loves this house. I hope we can keep the report clean." Oh, isn't that special? You find a knob and tube wiring, an aging oil tank, and evidence of past foundation repairs. The financial dependency on this agent's referral creates a powerful but subtle incentive to minimize finding. This is exactly the type of conflict that regulatory bodies scrutinize. The report every finding clearly and professionally, politely remind the agent that your obligations to the client, your long-term reputation, and legal protection depends on the accuracy of your report, not the comfort of your referral source. Now, that's a big chunk of work, but I would be prepared to lose it rather than do anything that would affect your ability to retain your license, so on and so forth, because then you don't work at all. The undisclosed moisture intrusion. You find physical evidence. This happens often, maybe not just moisture, but other situations that aren't disclosed. Staining, replace drywall, and reposition insulation, suggesting a prior moisture issue that was professionally remediated. The seller's disclosure form says no known water intrusion. The listing agent insists it was fixed years ago and there's nothing to report. What you observed. Observable physical evidence of a prior condition is within the scope of your inspection. You are not a lawyer, but you are obligated to report what you see. Your duty, document the evidence in your report. Note that prior moisture intrusion is indicated by observable conditions and recommend further evaluation by a qualified specialist. There's nothing wrong with that line of thought. What to avoid: do not make legal determinations about disclosure obligations, but do not suppress factual observations from your report because a third party finds them inconvenient. Like I said, probably see this fairly often where you think something happened before, it's not in a disclosure. You don't have to have a knockdown, drag out fight about it. Just report on your line of thinking on that. Code of ethics and maintaining integrity. Translating principles into practice, reviewing the standards that govern our profession, and building habits that sustain ethical conduct over a career. That's what we're all about. Avoid conflicts of interest. Inspectors must not inspect properties in which they have a financial interest and must disclose any potential conflicts before accepting an assignment. Inspectors may not accept compensation. We've kind of talked about this a couple times. Yep. Referral fees or gifts from contractors for referring clients. This compromises the inspector's independence. Inspection findings belong to the client. The inspectors may not share content with third party without the client's consent, except where required by law. And then truthful representation must not misrepresent their qualifications, experience, or findings. All advertising and communications must be accurate and not misleading.
So just an FYI, if you're a newer inspector on the confidentiality, when I send out my paperwork, I do it digitally, and I put into the contract that I do have the permission, unless otherwise noted by the client, to send the report to their agent. And that's in there. A couple of times it's come back where I've sent the report to the client, and I always ask the clients at the end of the inspection, I'm going to send you the report. You're going to get it tonight, tomorrow, whenever, and I'm going to forward it to your agent. Is that okay? And every once in a while, people will say, I don't want the agent to get it. And that's okay. The verbal is overwritten by the contract, because in the contract, it says that unless otherwise specified by the client. But I've had a couple of times too, where I've asked that, they go, okay, yeah, send it. They send it, and then they have second thoughts. I don't know if they should have it. And I tried to tell them, listen, you agreed to this. I asked you at the inspection. You said send it. The contract says I can send it. If you have a problem with the agent, address it with the agent. You're good.
Your responsibility. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You're good.
Okay. Your responsibility to those you've never met. Every home inspection has consequences that extend beyond an immediate client. Future buyers, tenants, residents of any property you inspect may rely on your findings directly or indirectly. Your duty to the public is the broadest and most fundamental obligation in our codes of ethics. Always report conditions that could affect the health or safety of occupants, regardless of how the findings may affect the transaction. Quick story, I was training our third partner, actually, and we were in the basement of this old two-family house. First floor was vacant. I'm leaning on the water heater, explaining, I forgot what I was, maybe the furnace, and I was getting burned as it was operating. The chimney was blocked. Second floor, there was a young husband and wife with an infant. We went upstairs. We asked them if they had any issues upstairs. They said, yeah, we used to get nauseous. We'd open the windows. Well, I called the fire department. I told them to leave. I called the fire department. They shut the whole street down while they were checking the house out. That was a health issue. There was an infant in the house. I felt I had to do that. I could not let them stay in there with a chimney that wasn't working properly. Carbon monoxide was backing up and entering the house. So that guy couldn't open up that apartment until he put whatever they had to do to the chimney. Provide equal quality of service to all clients, regardless of race, religion, gender, national origin, disability, or any other protected characteristic. And refuse to participate in any practice that harms the public, including falsifying reports, suppressing findings, or enabling deceptive transactions. This is what every client deserves: full, accurate disclosure. Your client is entitled to a complete, honest, and clearly written report of all observed conditions within the scope of your inspection. This is not optimal. It is the core of what they hired you to do. Avoid the temptation to protect clients from difficult information. They are making a major financial decision and deserve the full picture. Inspection findings are the property of your client. Do not share reports, details with sellers, listing agent, or a third party without client's explicit consent. Be accessible to your clients after delivery of the report. Answering questions, clarifying findings, and explaining recommendations are all part of serving your client ethically and professionally. Okay, Jim.
Yep.
Be a steward of your profession. Individual inspectors collectively define the reputation of the entire profession. How you conduct yourself shapes how the public, regulators, and other professionals view home inspection as a whole. Stay current with evolving standards, building codes, materials, and inspection techniques. Your CE requirements is a floor, not a ceiling. Share knowledge, mentor trainees, and treat colleagues with respect. The profession grows stronger when experienced inspectors invest in the next generation. I'm having a little bit of difficulty doing that, but if you observe clear ethical violations by other inspectors, address them through appropriate channels. Silence in the face of misconduct makes the entire profession look bad. Transparent communication is one of the most powerful tools for maintaining ethical practice. When clients understand your process, your findings, and your limitations, they trust you more, and they are far less likely to feel misled or file a complaint. Explain the scope and limitations of your inspection in clear terms. Use your written agreement to set accurate expectations. Never promise to find everything. I think you learned that early on. Narrate your findings as you go when the client is present. Explain what you are observing and why it matters. Invite questions without interpreting them as challenges. Walk clients through your report findings verbally or in writing. Prioritize findings clearly so they understand what requires immediate attention versus routine maintenance. So in Jersey, you usually have the client there?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
In other parts of the country,
Buyers, the realtor.
yeah. In other parts of the country, they don't. For instance,
Yeah.
when my son bought a condo in North Carolina, he was not there. He wasn't even invited. The owners were in their house in Florida, and the realtor just gave the combination to the home inspector.
Really?
That's kind of normal practice out there, from what I understand, and in other states. So, you know,
When do you guys go through attorney review?
No.
No, New Jersey, I think, is the only one that does it. Because my son just bought a house in Pennsylvania and there was no lawyers involved. In Jersey, I've bought 5 houses, and all 5 houses we've gone through with lawyers. I think down south, like past Atlantic City and stuff, they don't use lawyers either. It's all realtors.
Yeah,
The
it took me
lawyers, the lawyers in Connecticut will help with the closing, but they very rarely will go through the home inspection report or process.
Yeah,
realtors take care of that.
in New Jersey, they have to go through the attorney review for. I don't know if they have to go, but they go through an attorney review. Usually, that process takes 3 to 5 days. Could take 7 by the time they finalize the contract, and then
Wow.
then they give you 7 to 10 days or 14 days to do a home inspection.
Gotcha.
Okay, Jim.
Yep, you're good.
Avoiding conflicts of interest, practical steps. Screen every assignment before accepting an inspection. Ask yourself whether any personal, financial, or professional relationships exist that could compromise or appear to compromise your objectivity. If a potential conflict exists but you proceed, disclose the relationship clearly in your engagement agreement. Give the client the opportunity to choose a different inspector. Sometimes the most ethical choice is to say no. If you cannot be genuinely objective, declining the assignment protects both you and client and your professional integrity. Maintain impartiality during inspections. An impartial inspector applies the same standard of thoroughness to every property, regardless of the client's emotional investment, the deal size, or who is watching. Your report reflects the condition of the property, nothing more, nothing less. Use the same inspection protocol in every job. Report all findings regardless of severity. Do not adjust your narrative based on who is in the room. Avoid emotional commentary or personal opinions beyond professional observation. Common impartiality pitfalls: anchoring, letting the listing price influence how thorough you inspect. Familiarity bias, being less critical of brands or systems you personally prefer. Social pressure, softening findings when the client or agent is clearly upset. Scope creep, going beyond your stated scope to reassure a nervous client, then missing something critical. Staying current regulations and standards. Check the division's website regularly for updates to home inspection licensing regulations, advisory committee decisions, and disciplinary actions. These are public records and valuable learning tools. Attend chapter meetings, webinars, and industry events. Join local groups, I think is a good idea. Professional networks are often the fastest way to learn about emerging issues, regulatory changes, and evolving best practices.
I'm just going to bust in here for 1 second. I know we're going to wrap up soon. We're running short on time. New Jersey does a really good job of posting all the information online for all the courses that are available. I'm in charge of getting all our courses approved in New Jersey. And I can tell you that they look over everything, and they're very, very thorough. And I think the board meets like once a month, and they're in constant communication with me about any issues that arise. And when courses are approved at the meeting, within like a day or two, I get an updated list, and that's posted on the website too, on theirs and ours.
Yeah,
But
pretty serious here.
yeah, they're really good. I mean, I deal with 5 states. I have to say, New Jersey, when I have an issue, they get right back to me. They are really clear on what's going to be approved, what's not going to be approved. So I've been dealing with them for 3 years now, and I've really never had a problem with them. But they are very thorough. They want to know when everything's going to happen. They require extensive outlines about what we're going to be doing in these webinars. And, it's looked over by the board. So, we're getting everything approved because we do a good job. But they, other states, it's just like, yeah, it's good to go. You're good. There's it's not a real review process.
Okay.
You're good, Stan. Go ahead.
Use clear, comprehensive inspection agreements that define scope, limitation, and duties. Written contracts protect both you and your clients. Standard inspection protocols reduce the risk of missed items and ensure every client receives the same level of thoroughness regardless of circumstances. E&O insurance is not just a legal requirement. It reflects a professional commitment to accountability and your client's ability to seek recourse if needed. Periodically have a trusted colleague review sample reports. Fresh eyes can catch blind spots and help ensure your reporting meets professional and ethical standards. When you're writing a report every single day, I'm not going to say you miss things or get a little sloppy. It doesn't hurt to go back. I think I taught Jim this a long, long time ago. Go back and look at even 3 months ago and make sure that you're doing what you really want to do. Because sometimes you just kind of fly through these things to get them done. Next, Jim. Okay. You feel pressured before you begin. If a client, agent, or third party is attempting to influence your findings before you even started, that's a significant warning sign. Set clear expectations immediately or reconsider the assignment. It's just this once, or everyone does it, or it won't really matter, are phrases that signal ethical drift. When you start justifying a questionable action with elaborate reasoning, pause and revisit the plus model. If you review a completed report and notice that it's shorter, softer, or less detailed than your typical work without a clear technical reason, examine whether external pressures influence your documentation. When ethics are violated. formal complaints to New Jersey Advisory Board, license suspension or revocation, public disciplinary records, loss of professional membership and certifications, reputational damage that permanently affects your business. So legal consequences, civil lawsuits for negligent fraud or misrepresentation, personal liability for financial damages to clients, criminal exposure in cases involving intentional fraud. Most enforcement actions begin with a single complaint from a dissatisfied client. The best protection against all of these consequences is a consistent, well-documented, ethically grounded practice. So how do you measure up? Use this checklist to evaluate your current practice. These questions reflect the habits and behaviors that distinguish consistently ethical inspectors from those who are merely lucky. I always disclose potential conflicts of interest before accepting an assignment. My inspection reports are consistent, in-depth, and detailed regardless of the client or agent involved. I have never modified a report based on pressure from a third party. I am familiar with the current New Jersey regulations and codes of ethics. I document my reasoning when I face an unusual or ethically complex situation. I have written agreements that clearly define the scope and limitations of my inspections. I actively pursue continuing education beyond the minimum CE requirements. I treat all clients, agents, and fellow inspectors with equal respect and professionalism. So frequently asked questions. Can I inspect a home for a family member if I disclose the relationship? Disclosure is necessary but may not be sufficient. Even with disclosure, you must be confident that you can perform a fully objective inspection. If in doubt, refer the client to a colleague. Am I required to report everything I observe? You must report all conditions within the scope of your inspection that are observed during the inspection. You are not required to speculate beyond what is visible, but you may not omit observed conditions from your report. What should I do if an agent threatens to stop sending me business? Maintain your professional standards. Your long-term reputation and legal protection are worth far more than any single referral source. Document the interaction and, if appropriate, report the pressures to your professional association or the advisory committee. Can I accept a gift or tip from a satisfied client? Small tokens of appreciation from a client after the fact are generally acceptable, but never accept gifts from contractors, real estate agents, or others who may benefit from your referrals or your findings. When in doubt, decline graciously. What if I discover something outside my inspection scope? You're not required to inspect items outside your scope, but you are encouraged to note significant observable conditions and recommend further evaluation by a qualified specialist. Silence about a clearly visible hazard is difficult to defend professionally or legally. How do I handle a situation where I suspect fraud by the seller? Your role is to document observable conditions, not to make legal determinations. Report what you see accurately, recommend additional investigation where warranted, and consult your attorney or E&O insurer if you believe you may be drawn into a legal dispute. Key takeaways. Ethics are non-negotiable. Honesty, integrity, fairness, and accountability are the core principles that govern every inspection. No client, agent, or financial incentive justifies compromising them. Dilemmas are inevitable. Preparation is the answer. Every inspector faces ethical dilemmas. The difference between those who handle them well and those who don't is preparation, knowing the framework and applying them before the pressure mounts. Code of ethics exists to protect you as much as they protect your clients. Know them, apply them, and return to them whenever you face uncertainty. Ethical inspectors aren't born. They're made through consistent choices, good habits, and a genuine commitment to serving clients and the public with honesty. James?
That's it. We're good.
Well, listen, thank you for investing the time today and attending our webinar. You know, we have 3 more hours if you need them. They're coming up. And we have other things available if you want to become a member, a monthly member, or you need to buy a package of 5 or 10 reports to get credits to get your
Well, Angela's a member. Danny, I think, just bought this webinar. Our New Jersey law and standard of practice is going to be July 28th and 29th. I'm going to send the Zoom links the day before and the day of, as always.
Okay.
And they are going to start at 6:30 p.m. and go to 8. So it's going to be 90 minutes each of those days. And I will get your I'm probably going to send one certificate out to cover law and ethics, so that you can show 4 hours that you need, because New Jersey requires a 4 hours. So you're not going to get a certificate tonight. You'll get the one certificate covering everything.
Okay.
And for some reason, if you can't make the next 2 webinars for this, they're recorded. So you can watch them, give us the codes. You know, if you have a medical emergency or, you know, something happens that you can't.
Right.
So don't panic, because we record these and I put them on the site the very next day. So you guys will be covered on that. So yeah, very good. Thank you for joining. I'm going to just stop the recording right now and